Welcome to After Credit Rewrites. This isn't really us saying that we know how to write a better movie or saying that we can do anything better. This is more of just what we would have liked to see in the movie or certain changes to specific scenes. This isn't rewriting the entire movie. I don't have that kind of expertise. So for Supergirl, like we said, the movie, it was all right. It was kind of a disappointment. But what it did is it inspired me to do a little bit of writing on what I would have had liked to see from this movie, from Supergirl's character, and the overall story. I'm not going to go into super specific detail for certain stuff because if you have seen the movie, then you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen the movie, there will be minor spoilers, but also you might be confused in certain areas. So a few disappointments were the main antagonist. I felt like he did a really good job in the movie. I really liked the actor for him. Although I felt like they could have built him up as a bigger villain. Also with him using the poison on Crypto, I really feel like they could have shown that at the beginning of the movie with Ruthie's parents, rather than have the poison be explained by some random doctor to Supergirl. So my ideal opener for that would have Krim and his crew raid that house just like we see in the movie, but they use the poison on Ruthie's dad as a torture tactic or an interrogation tactic, just like we saw in the movie where the doctor told Supergirl that that's what they use it for. I would have loved to see them actually use it for that reason rather than be told that they used it for that reason. Also, I think it would have been great to have Ruthie have a sister, and both of them are hiding in the beginning. So we see the brigands raid that house to find Ruthie and her sister so that they can be sold into the whole wife trafficking system that is kind of shown in the movie, but maybe not as much. I think this would have built up Ruthie's character more. It would have built up her motivation more because we have Ruthie's sister get kidnapped while she escapes. Now she has that motivation of revenge on Krim as well as saving her sister. This also sets up another plot point later in the movie. It also establishes Krim as just a bad guy that, in general, for a bad guy like this, we want the audience to hate them. And if we establish that he is using women for sex trafficking and that whole ordeal, then it really creates a villain that we despise and want dead. That way, at the end, when we get that, we celebrate. Another change I would have made for this movie is something that's small, but I feel like it's significant, is having the newspaper that Crypto pees on near the beginning feature an article about Supergirl rather than Superman. And I'm thinking this article would say something like, Supergirl causes building collapse, 14 injured, something along that lines to show that she did help Superman on Earth. However, she made a mistake or failed at something, thus leading into her alcoholism and depression and feeling like she doesn't belong anywhere, feeling like that she can't be a hero, building up this character as they're really low in their life. That way, when we get to the third act and Supergirl steps into that role of a superhero and built that character, it feels very satisfactory to the audience. And maybe Ruthie finds the newspaper lying on the floor as she comes to try to convince Supergirl to help her save her sister and get revenge on her father and mother. And maybe that's where she discovers that Supergirl, she has powers, and why she comes to Red Sun Planet so she can get drunk and not sit in that shame or depression that she constantly is feeling about herself. In the Supergirl movie, we did see a little bit of a flashback of Supergirl landing on Earth and meeting her cousin. But we also saw a majority of the flashback of her on her home planet Krypton, everything with her parents and the destruction of Krypton and why she got sent to Earth. I think that segment could have been shorter, and I would have loved to see them flesh out more of her character on Earth, how she made that mistake that drove her into isolating herself or feeling like Earth isn't her home. Because like I said, the payoff at the end would be so much better with her finally be able to call Earth her home and finally accepting this role or stepping into the role of being a superhero that, yes, you're going to make mistakes. Sometimes you're not going to be able to save everyone, but that does not mean that you can't still help people and that people still don't look to you for hope. Also, in that mid-segment sequence in the Supergirl movie, where it's Lobo and Supergirl and they're fighting all the brigands on that one planet, I think it would have been cool to have Supergirl kind of trying to step into that role of a superhero. She's still not wearing her Supergirl outfit because she still hasn't fully accepted that role, but she's still trying to help Ruthie save her sister, still trying to help all the women that are being sold into this trafficking system by the brigands. And maybe something happens where Ruthie's sister dies. So now Supergirl feels this burden where she's like, I failed this girl that I was trying to help. I failed her sister. I'm just not cut out to be a superhero like my cousin, Superman. You know, it's just reestablishing that fact that she is scared to help people because she just feels like she can't help them because she only makes things worse or she only hurts them more. But Ruthie still believes in her. She still believes that she could be a hero. And Ruthie can be the person that really gives Supergirl hope that she could be more than what she thinks she is, or more than the mistakes that she thinks make her. Finally, it all culminates at the end, to the final fight. Supergirl has given up as a hero, but now Ruthie is still set on getting revenge for her dead sister, her mom, and her dad. So she goes alone. Supergirl maybe has some flashbacks of her mom or dad telling her to go to Earth to help people, or maybe flashbacks of Superman telling her and encouraging her, motivating her. So Supergirl finally dons the suit, stepping into that role as a superhero. Stepping into the role of being someone that people can look to for hope, and going to help Ruthie. And finally, the final fight, I think it would be cool to see Krim, earlier in the movie, discover that Kara is Kryptonian, so he knows her weakness. So he builds up like red sun lamps. And the final fight is her versus Krim, and he activates these lamps, and now she's kind of helpless, but she's still trying to put up a fight. She's still trying to give it her all to save Ruthie. But she ultimately loses that fight with Krim. And one thing I just didn't like from the movie is that Ruthie, I felt like her role, she didn't do much. I'm not saying she didn't have an impact on the story, but her character didn't do anything. This would give a good opportunity for her to actually do something in the movie by destroying the red lamps, saving Kara, getting her powers back, defeating Krim, and then it ends with her coming back to Clark and wanting to try again, wanting to start something new. And after the movie, I was talking with Ryan, I think it would have been cool to where earlier in the movie, during like one of the video calls that she has with Clark is trying to invite her to like a Thanksgiving meal or like a Christmas meal, some kind of holiday that Kara isn't familiar with. And then it ends with her, Clark, Lois Lane, Ma and Pa Kent, they're all together just spending time together as family because now she feels like she can belong, even though this isn't her real family, that she lost her family on her home planet. She felt like she didn't belong on Earth. She felt like that's Superman's home, but not her own. This ending shows that she has finally accepted that the people that love her, even though they aren't her real family, that they still love her and that she can call Earth home. So yeah, this is just a few notes or critiques or different rewrites of the movie that I would have loved to see and I think would have been really good. Like I said at the beginning, I'm no writer. I'm not calling myself better than the people who actually wrote this movie. These are just some personal preferences on what I think would have made a great character into something even greater.